Welcome to another episode of the Programmatic Digest podcast. I have one of my dearest friend on the pod today. Hi, John Paul. How are you?
Wonderful as ever. And yourself?
We are just peachy here. It is Monday afternoon. It's nice and sunny on my side. How is it looking on your side?
You don't want to ask that question about being in England.
Yeah.
Today, sunshine, then heavy rain, then gale force winds for no reason. And now it's gone calm again and it's beautiful. So
Oh, biscuit.
enjoying it, enjoying the difference. Enjoying it.
Okay. Well, hopefully this conversation is going to be as sunny as possible. Mom joke
You
here.
know that, girl.
I did great. I do
I have
great
to
with
refrain
these.
from doing American accents as well. I'm talking over you. Sorry,
Please
Ellen.
don't. We're gonna get
I have
canceled
a,
if you do that.
yeah, I have a bad habit of being all right, all right, all right. It just flicks off in my head.
This is too
But
much.
anyway, you start off.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna talk about programmatic curation. In the last two,
hmm
3 weeks, we published the previous 2, 3 weeks from when this is gonna air. We publish episode explaining the WTF about all of the analytics reports. And we really honed in on defining MFAs, what it represents for a programmatic trader. As you know, I represent the buyer, right? We work a lot with ad
Yeah.
agency, trading desk, activation teams, you name it. And so we went on defining it, explaining how it all happened, how it was nothing new, but we still got to get our lives together. What I'm
hmm
hoping we can continue is programmatic curation. Last week I talked about what it was, how important it will be, how we're going to start seeing more brands like the Bonvoy Marriott or Chase Bank or like Walmart acquiring Visio is I feel like is an indirect result of what is happening in that industry in terms of
mm
we're going to see more and more of these media companies and we're going to be forced to do programmatic curation to reach out directly to them. So I'd love to talk about that today with you, considering that you all are the expert. And so let's go ahead and maybe hear a little bit about who John Paul is, how you landed where you landed, how you got started in this whole programmatic world. And then we can get into
hmm
today's conversation. How does that sound?
Incredible. I love talking about myself.
Okay,
Yeah,
cap it at 2, 3 minutes.
I know, I know. Otherwise, I'll start going really deep on it. Uh, so, when we're talking about me personally, I've worked in media for 21 years. I
Yeah.
started in independent TV, and then I moved across the agency side where I was working at Mindshare on Nestle and IBM,
Mhm.
planning and buying for them. I went to Dennis Publishing for a short period where that's where I started working in online, and then moved across to a virtual world for kids, which at the time was very small. It was before Roblox and Fortnite, right? So imagine that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it was UK only.
Mhm.
And over the 5 years that I worked there, built that up to be 2.4 million monthly active users, which was about,
Oh.
I'd say, for 7 to 14-year-olds, about 50% of the market at that time. So we were big. We won a BAFTA for 5 years consecutively for being best kids website
Oh,
because we were
nice.
making in-game activations, and this was between 2010 and 2015. And then after that, I went over to Havas, back to agency side, where I was head of AV and digital for one of their agencies, buying and planning for 25 clients. And then
Mhm.
from there, I moved to Gameloft, which is a multi-platform gaming company now. Gameloft
Okay.
was like the granddaddy of mobile gaming. From they
Okay.
started in 1999, and I've been a fan of theirs. So joined them in 2017 as managing director for the UK, Ireland, and Nordics. And then in 2019, December 2019, unfortunately, we had to close the office because it was extremely expensive to run a London office. And if you're not producing anything, you can put that fund elsewhere. So
Got it.
that's all fine. What it did do is it caused me to then kind of look at what I was doing and how I would fit back into media land because
Okay. Okay.
gaming was something that I loved, but
Oh.
working in media, let's say digital, TV, cinema, and programmatic, that was also something that I really cared about.
Mhm.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
So then from there, I was doing consultancy for a while, helping sales teams to kind of launch into the UK.
Mhm.
And then the more and more I was speaking to people, the more and more I kind of identified that there was this need for, which was very new at the time, curation, and working with another partner of
Mm.
ours,
Right.
who now we've separated, like um, Gwyneth Paltrow and the guy from Coldplay, Chris Martin. We had a nice separation.
Uh-huh.
And it was kind of, to kind of bring it back again,
Mhm.
curation was the thing that we saw to be where the benefit existed. So that curation in being
Pull it up.
something that actually everyone can kind of do,
Mhm.
but it's about saving people time really, and kind of adding that layer of expertise to this
Right.
um, new field.
So tell me a little bit about, like, give us an example of when, I don't know, maybe you were consulting with a client or providing, your expertise to a client and curation made sense, right? Paint a picture for us because I think the way I understand curation or programmatic, like curated deals, is just private marketplace deals to the a
Yeah.
direct level. And so to me, it falls under the direct deal versus, I mean, we can still activate it programmatically, but we'll have to have that direct relationship. So
Mm.
talk to us about, like, okay, what's maybe the nuances? Maybe I'm not making, pointing out the real nuance between curated deals and programmatic marketplace. What's your take on that? I know I just asked 7 question in one, but let's start with the first one.
That's how my brain works. And it might answer them in different orders. Uh, so if you think about it this way, right?
Mhm.
Initially, so Seika has grown. Seika Media, Seika means achievement or results in Japanese. That's why we're called
Nice.
Seika Media as well.
Nice.
That's the relevance of that. So let's drop it down to the fundamentals of what this is about, right?
Mhm.
Programmatic is a commodity. Anyone
Right.
can buy anything they want anywhere in the world. Anyone can sign a contract with an SSP or a DSP. Anyone can call a publisher directly and create a deal. But
Mhm.
all of these things take time. They take planning. They take man hours. They take, or people hours. Apologies.
Mhm.
They take investment from companies. You're going to have to pay for the people to do the work. And when I launched in October of 2020 during COVID,
Mhm.
there was a big reduction on staffing at agencies.
Mhm.
So you had all of the workload going on to people. So they were pitching during the day and then they were doing their day work at night. And if they had families, they were putting children to bed and they were going back to their laptops and they were working on to just try and meet the pacing and the performance of the campaign, right? That gets upsetting when you're speaking to friends of yours at agencies when
Mhm.
they're like, I just don't know if I can do it anymore. I can't take
Yeah,
it anymore.
that's real.
And the good thing is that curation at that point was extremely new.
Mhm.
So not only was it about the fact that we could help them, we could do it a lot faster than they could. Because if you're an agency and you're planning and then you're buying and you're having meetings and your team meetings and you've got to do this and you've got to see publishers and you've got to speak to everyone, it can get very overwhelming. There's not to even to mention reporting, how much time reporting takes of
Oh, yeah.
like collating all of these line items from different publishers together, right? So how curation was solving that and how we were solving that was that we began by signing up deals with the SSPs to give us access to the platforms,
Okay.
and DSPs as well. So we offer managed service and self-service. But I don't want this to become super salesy. I just want to explain that kind
No,
of
for sure. That makes
difference
a
in
lot
it.
of sense so far. We're following.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say to people, we can help save you time, money, and effort, you have
Mhm.
to be able to offer them
Gotta back it up.
more than simply one thing. Yes.
Mhm.
But we also like to keep it enclosed in that kind of idea that our core business is programmatic
Mhm.
curation. What we offer in that
Mhm.
is display, video, audio, CTV,
Yeah.
more than that. So that was something that we could offer where we could curate supply on the
Mhm.
platforms, on the SSPs, and then build it into one deal ID. And the benefit of that was it meant that if you were, buying something for your client,
Mhm.
instead of you speaking to lots of publishers and building PMP deals and then having, 100 line items with different budgets against it,
Mhm.
you now could see all of that supply in one place. And because it was connected directly to your DSP through one PMP deal,
Mm-hmm.
It meant that you could see how much you were paying for it, how much you were investing, because remember, we don't spend, we invest. We want a return on that investment.
Yes.
Um, which domains you're using and what the performance of those domains is.
Mm-hmm.
Fully transparent going out to people.
Mm-hmm.
What my team then does is we optimize on the SSP side. So our clients let us know how much they're looking
Uh-huh.
to spend and what they're trying to achieve from it.
Okay.
And then we will find them the best supply that answers that.
Mm-hmm.
We're not there to sell one publisher over another.
Got it. Good
Okay.
to know.
All deals are equal, right?
Mhm.
We are unbiased in who gets used and who doesn't. Performance is the key to making this work. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so in
Makes sense.
that then grew to where we were working with agencies and they're saying, oh, great, but we really like working with this publisher. Cool. Then I'll have a conversation with them. We'll connect their PMP deals or whatever you need from them into this master list. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll create you an inclusion list where you can buy all of the regular stuff that you do. And we'll find you other supply
Mm-hmm.
that can help increase that performance, right? So you're getting everything that you need. And as we started to do that, we spoke to more platforms, we spoke to more publishers. Like, I love having salespeople sell at me. I think salespeople are incredible. Um, and then we're also speaking to data providers as well to make sure that we're getting the very best of the supply that's out there, and the contextual targeted, behavioral targeting first party
Mm-hmm.
is all kind of tip top. And
Mm-hmm.
now again, my job is not to sell platforms. My job is to sell the solution. So we
Mm-hmm.
use multiple platforms. We're currently on 6 SSPs,
Mm-hmm.
where we'll go through and we'll identify which one has the best supply, the best flow to your DSP, etc., before we connect it up to you. And we do that pretty much within 48 hours, or we can do it in a couple of hours if you
I
really
was
need it.
just
Actually,
gonna
so
ask you, what's the turnaround timeline for that, right? Because it seems like
yeah,
you're plugging a lot. So if
yeah,
the
yeah.
client had to say, okay, Seika or John, we're looking for this. What is your take on we need to target maybe expat, US
Mhm,
expat with a political ad, let's say, um, to help them vote?
mhm.
What would be the steps you would take, and how long would that take for the team?
Yeah.
What does the trader needs to do to get that information from you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and they're often very brief. It can sometimes be. I had one the other day where someone just sent me 2 website links, and they were like, "I'm going to need a plan for this." Like, oh, come on, man. Um,
Make it
the
happen.
benefit,
Sprinkle over your
one of,
magical salt
yeah, yeah, and I need it in 10 minutes. But I've been agency side. I know what that pressure's
in
like.
10 minutes.
And you
I
think
need
I
it
need to send this, I need
yesterday,
to send this, and
please.
then
I need it
yeah, yeah,
yesterday.
and then you've only just got round to it, and you're like, oh god, I need that. One of the benefits is that I've worked in agencies as well. So I
Mhm,
understand the problems and I can kind of assimilate it into me and understand very quickly
mhm,
what is needed, and then communicate that to the team to say, I need you to reach out to these people, or I'd rather recommendations and say, maybe speak to OpenX and see what they can do in this space, because I know that they've got good data there, and also speak to Oracle and Lotomy and Criteo and whatever, and we'll start pulling it together.
mhm,
And we'll start getting an idea of what is required and what's coming back with the best response for it.
mhm.
And then we'll speak to all of them. We'll speak to the data providers. These kind of things take slightly longer, but we can do it in 48 hours because the sales teams are really responsive to us, and we
Okay.
kind of float in the middle. So if
Mhm,
a salesperson is speaking to us, because we are salespeople also,
mhm.
we can understand very quickly what the USPs are. We get very quick down to like, why are we looking at this and how does it benefit our end client?
Yeah.
And would we put our name to it? Because if we don't believe that we could put our name to it, then it doesn't go across to the client.
Mhm.
Because if I don't think I would buy it as a buyer,
Yep.
I can't send that out. But then there are other things that are super simple. So for me, because of my gaming background and my connections within gaming, if I get a brief through that someone needs some gaming material, the team send it straight to me, or the client gets in touch with me straight away. And then I'll just text people that work at different companies like Gadsby, Anzu, Ion, and Venatus, and Super Awesome, and whoever we need to draw that from. It's really a good place to be because we're kind of friends with everyone. We're friends with the agencies, we're friends with the data partners. I like to make sure that people are, if you've brought in something good, that the agency knows who they're using so that for that transparency to go across. Um, yeah, it's just fantastic. But yeah, so in answer to your question, when a brief comes through,
Mhm.
it's a the agency's done most of the work anyway. They're the ones that have been sitting on this for 6 months, building that kind of plan and the idea of the audience
Till they get
together.
approved. Mhm.
Our expertise is then speaking to the right people, but then also using the platforms, I would say, better than the agencies can do themselves. And that's where we add that level. So we had an example where we were looking at a car brand, automotive brand,
Okay.
and an agency said to us, well, we can do that. And I said, and completely you can. But the reason we exist is because most agencies are, you know, understaffed and overwhelmed. They just don't
Period.
have the time. So that's why
Period.
we exist, right? To help that out. We want you to go home on time.
So,
But I kind of said, okay,
uh-huh.
sorry, so I finished it, but to give the example of like the comparison,
Right, right,
I
right. Go
said,
for
you
it.
create for your client the automotive domain list, okay,
Okay.
and then we'll show you ours. So when we supply it, we give them a guide price for the formats they want to use and the available inventory at 70% an overviewability
Oh,
rate
I
and
see.
70% an
Mhm.
over video
Mhm.
completion rate. So we show the quality that's there, and then
Mhm.
we'll send a list of the domains so they know exactly where they're going to be running out. Because again, you want to go back to the client and say, this is the good stuff, right? So
Mm,
they ran their list, sent
good.
it to us, and we sent them our list.
Mhm.
Their list was full of, and it's contextual targeting. Not every URL is, as on the money as you need it to be, because that's the beauty of contextual targeting.
Mhm.
But we also had domains on there like Planet F1, Top Gear, all that kind of auto trader, all super relevant for like environments
Very
for them
targeted.
where we're just getting a layer beneath it. And again, similarly for DE&I campaigns, you know,
Mhm.
I had a DSP contact me last week or the week before and asking what we could do. And what we can do is we can pull all of the sort of DE&I from every other SSP together
Yeah.
and create really powerful PMP deals
Mhm.
that then it's up to the client then to buy what they want and what they see fit, and then we'll give rationale over why we've chosen these SSPs and what benefit they bring to it and stuff. So yeah, it's extremely exciting.
Have you ever had somebody say, "We only want to work with these people"? Or is
In
that the
terms
opposite?
of publishers,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Okay.
then like sometimes it's sometimes it's a benefit just to say okay, right? And
Mhm.
equally, if we get briefs through and I think that someone could do it better by going direct to a publisher,
Right.
let's say that they've got a budget and the budget would be, I don't know, $60,000, right? And they want to run a specific format and they want to do it kind of this way. And then I might say, if I were you, I'd probably give this person a ring and I'd say to them, you'll commit it, the total budget if they gave you a good deal. Like,
Yeah.
I know you want to run it programmatically, but you're going to get better results this way. And
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that way, my hands don't necessarily touch it,
Yeah.
but I want the trust with the agency to be something of real
Right. Right.
trust. I want them to understand that, like, I'm in this for their success. I
Mhm.
actually say many times, like, I'm not even that bothered about Seika Media being this big, massive global brand. What I'd like to do is I'll run an honest company that kind of helps people to achieve their goals and get home on time so they can spend time with their family. Dan
Yeah.
Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Great book. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. And I think that's the biggest misconception too. Or that's the normality that ad agencies have done with their
Mm,
people. The fact that you should work longer hours and that's the only way you can get results. I see like longer hours is
mm,
equal to productivity. And I'm a big that's
mm.
not true. That's bullshit in my opinion. It's like you don't have to spend hours and hours
Yeah,
on doing something. If you're spending too long on something, you need help. And it's absolutely
yeah,
okay to ask for help. And sometimes, and I
yeah.
work with ad agencies a lot, and and my experience is predominantly working for ad agencies. So I understand why there's so much pressure, there's so much deadline. But at the end of the day, it's like if my people are not healthy enough and they don't prioritize their wellness, like how are they going to perform 1000% or
Mm.
100%, right? Um and
There's also that thing as well, sorry, that you were
mhm,
saying before about when
mhm,
you're teaching teams.
mhm.
You're instructing teams to be able to use the platforms in a more efficient way. We speak to agencies across the globe.
Mhm.
And you'd be surprised how many of the heads of departments say, my team just doesn't have the expertise, or they don't
Yeah.
have the time and platform that you have. And it's like,
Yeah.
that is, at first it's confusing because you think, well, actually, you've been hired as a trader, or you've been hired as this, and how
Yeah.
can you not? But again, every single pressure within the agency is being piled onto these young people.
Yeah.
And all we're doing is saying, it's still your campaign, it's
Yes.
still your investment, it's still your client.
Mhm.
Let us just go and get that supply for you, and then we'll connect it to your DSP. It's already mapped, and
Mhm.
then you choose what you want to spend on it, and you choose how you want to play this game.
I
Right?
think
That's
I
it.
I think I love this conversation because I think it's helps to normalize the whole a trader is supposed to be the expert, but also an expert can ask for help, and an expert
Mm,
can need another expert to continue helping them stay expert, if that makes sense.
yeah.
And I think
Why we have
it's
mentors, you
that's
know?
exactly right. And that's another conversation I want to have too, because I mean, it's tough out there, there's a lot
Mm,
going on. I mean, the price, the everything, you just have to open the internet and go on like the ad exchanger or go to Digiday, and then you'll see there's a lot going on. But ultimately is how do we make sure that we work with individuals that are willing to learn, to continue implementing what they learn, and to always stay open-minded and really thinking um from a fuller picture, if that makes sense, right? So it's like sometimes as traders we're very focused on the platform, we put a lot of trust in the platform, but what I literally have been preaching is like you got to trust, but you also have to verify, and when it's necessary you have to reach out and partner up with third party vendors
mm.
Seika or whatever it
Yeah,
is. I do want to pivot towards gaming. I think gaming is like I feel like gaming
love
has
you.
been like really taken over slowly but surely, literally like retail media, right? We hear about it, but like we hear about it. And I don't know if there's enough focus on the the benefit of implementing a gaming strategy to brands activation
Mm,
efforts. So
yeah.
just redefine, well, maybe tell us like, okay, if any why a brand should focus on or consider implementing a gaming specific strategy, and how can they go about doing that? Like what are the two, three things they should pay attention to when it comes to gaming that could benefit them?
Just get in contact with me. I'll take care of that. No. Um, I
And
love
get in
this. I love
contact
this
with John P.
because, yeah, yeah, John B. I like it. Look, I've worked in gaming
Mhm.
since 2010, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So the BAFTAs, Gameloft, I have experience. I've created strategies
Right.
for companies, well, work with agencies to help them create
Mhm.
strategies. And fundamentally, what we have to do is we have to see gaming not as this kind of lone media out there, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I hate it when gaming networks just talk about the audience. So as much as I'm trying to stop
Okay.
myself, the diversity that is in gaming is literally like there is a game for everyone.
Uh-huh.
So if you had um, an older audience and you wanted to communicate something to them, you can do that through gaming, but you just have
Mhm.
to be more considerate when you're creating the formats to go with it. Publishers are crying out to work with brands because the money that you provide into them helps them to create a better product, which then
Mhm.
goes back to enriching the kind of experience that the users have, who then play more, who then appreciate you for being in that environment. And then you build affinity, right? That's really what you want to do within gaming.
Okay.
For me, you can do it on a small scale and then go to big scale. Everyone thinks that you have to spend $1 million to do that. You don't. You just need to be able to speak to the right people. You can either buy programmatically your display ads, your rewarded video,
Right.
or you can then start building out actual strategies where you say, we're going to work with this publisher in this title because it speaks directly to our audience. And then what we'll do is we won't ask them. I believe in don't create a call to action in that kind of environment, right? What you want to do is use your other media to point into it and say, did you see us in this game? Did you see us in here? If you did, use this code or whatever. And brands should be giving, 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 right? Because this audience like most audiences, are super savvy, but this audience has more
Right.
say in what
Sense.
they see than in other mediums.
They're more
You
in
know,
control. Mhm.
we're on the ad tech group, and we saw today that there's lots of kind of full stuff coming through, that AI version of David Beckham trying to convince people to buy crypto and stuff. Like, that's crazy. In gaming, if they spot that, they will complain, and that will be cut. But the QA teams, like, so I'm dumping a load of it stuff in to try and fit it
No,
into
that's good.
time.
That's
But
good. That's good.
if you think about a game publisher, right?
Mhm.
When I was at Gameloft, they might spend 2 to 3 years investing around about $70 million over a period of time into making a game that they want to be beautiful for the player, because actually they make more money out of in-app purchases than they do from advertising, right?
Okay. Okay.
For me, advertising in games is a
Mhm.
game back to curation, but in this sense, you've got this beautiful kind of piece of art that is a game, and
Mhm.
then you want to put your brand within that space so that the people that are playing it are like, they understand me, they get me, they're my
Mm.
people, right?
Mhm.
And then that's how you build up that trust with people. You build up that affinity to say, there was the kind of example, and I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this, but when the Oculus Rift, it was a couple of years ago, in NBA
Oh, yeah,
2K, and
the
people had
like
paid
that. Mhm.
$80. So they
Mhm.
paid $80 for this game, and suddenly they're shown, I think it was a 2-minute ad in the middle, like in the break, in the quarter, right? And
Okay.
then there's uproar. They're like, I paid $80 for this. Why am I seeing this? Like, this is incredible. I want my money back. I'm never buying a game again.
Really?
Now,
Oh.
well, yeah, yeah, it went crazy. But on the face of it, if you're looking at it as a kind of media person, on the
Mhm.
face of it, perfect product, perfect environment, perfect audience, perfect
Mhm.
timing,
Yep. Mhm.
great format to educate people.
Mhm.
But it went the wrong way because what they didn't do was think about the audience first.
Mm.
Personally, if it were me, I would have come at it a different way. I would have said, we've made this Oculus Rift basketball court. We've got an Oculus Rift all-star team. You can do it if you play this match come back every day, and you know get
Right.
horse on the net or whatever that might be, and then you can
Mhm.
achieve these sneakers. Then I'd be working with a company like Scooty that do like a universal gaming credits, which you can use in the real world. So I'd have jerseys with Oculus Rift on it and Jordan on the back or something, and then I'd, get them to use in-game currency that equates to real world, and then I'd have
Yeah.
a kind of on screen to on street fashion thing where only people that knew about NBA 2K and Oculus Rift would be like, wow, I can't believe you've got that top. They could QR code the top and then they get something in game. Like, there's this massive ecosystem that you could build. But what they chose to do was probably spend about $2 million showing a video.
Wow.
Like, you've got the most interactive format that is available, and you showed them a video.
I think
That's why it frustrates me sometimes.
I think that's the last 2, 3 minutes of you sharing your expertise and your wisdom is a great example on why it is important to have partners like you or anyone in the industry that have experience. And I'll tie it back to the conversation we just have had about the trader being the expert, being the whatever, whatever. Um, this is why investing in a partnership, let's say with Seika or whatever, that that's why investing in a partnership like that is so much more rewarding because now you can literally expand the angle that they had. I could only see this tunnel, but working with somebody, okay,
So,
paying for investing in this wisdom helped me not only like add additional tunnels, but really expand our vision because ultimately programmatic is advertising, advertising is marketing, and marketing is the oldest
um,
trick in the book is word of mouth, like talking to your clients. We're doing all of this to reach our clients, period, if I had to dumb it down, right? And so why not do some investment to get you to talk to that consumer in an efficient way and an effective way without spending too much time, without burning people up. And, and that return is going to be exponential, not only in your pocket, but for your team, because now they get to learn and implement and do more and spend more time on the overall analysis versus the day to day, how this technology is going to, what the CPM is going to do, boom, boom, boom. That's also a one last question here before we move towards the closing segment about this whole AI thing. What's your take on AI before I give you my opinion? Like, how do you think generative AI or even any tools that are, you know, calling themselves AI heavy or
Yeah.
AI inspired, how can that be a benefit of what we do, what the trader needs, what the activation teams need, what the publisher needs? Like, what's your take on the whole AI thing first?
I would say initially, I'm not an expert. I have an opinion. I don't know if everyone is an
I
expert, but
want
they're
your
definitely an
opinion.
expert
I
better
ain't
than
no
me.
expert too. I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
an
exactly. But this is why opinion is free, and you've asked for it, so now
opinion.
you get it. Um,
Get it?
for me, when it comes into media, AI can't do what we do as an industry,
No.
right? I've worked with so many talented people at agencies and at sales houses
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that know so much, like you said, through the experience, through conversation,
Boom.
through like if you're talking
Networking.
to me about something, I pull people in and I'm like, don't talk to me. I'll put you in touch directly with the publisher that
That's
I think we
exactly
should be
right.
using on this, and you hear it from them and make a decision, right? AI, I think, like even programmatically, AI can optimize to a point.
Mhm.
The problem is that I believe you still need humans behind that. I
Absolutely.
still believe that you need humans to make sure that you don't have any slips where your content is being your ad is being served in front of content that could be damaging to it. And all it takes is one slip, right?
That's that's good.
Um, that's why we work with a company called Precise TV who do video level contextual targeting as well, so that you know exactly where it's going up. I'm not here to sell them. I'm just saying that like the human element is extremely important. If we look at Google's approach to it, where they're kind
Mhm,
of looking to black box it slightly, there's a bit of a bad reaction coming off the back of that
mhm.
because people don't know what's really going on and they're not being told how
Google.
it's done or what's happening with
Yeah.
it. Whereas with us, we'll send you a weekly report that has 4 points on it to say what we did in that week to optimize your campaign
Mhm,
so that you know what's going on. And if you're an agency, you can
mhm.
just send that straight to your client or you
Copy
can phone
paste.
them up. And that's because we have humans actually going through and optimizing it
Mhm,
and understanding what's working, what's not working, what can we find more of, what do we how do we create exclusion lists from what isn't working? Like
mhm,
it's a constant piece of art, it's a constant finessing.
mhm.
And I just don't think where we are right now, I don't think AI is going to do that for people.
And
And even when you bring it down to search terms, it's
mhm,
not that great. If you spoke to an SEO team or a PPC team, they're great at really
we
finding the nuance in everything.
we won't even talk about search because that's a different ball game. It's
Yeah,
a whole lot of
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
whole lot
That's
of
not my
other mess
barbecue.
over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
We got our mess, they got our
yeah,
mess. Like we're not gonna mix
yeah,
the mud here. But I like that answer. And I do think that AI could automate some of the optimization we do on a daily basis.
yeah.
But we still need, like you said, I want AI to fix the mundane little adjustment that is needed that traders still spend a lot of time doing. I mentioned how, adjusting a base bid, playing with frequency, expanding geo, reducing geo, depending on the clients, right? Excluding site lists, bidding down on thing. I feel like if you got to bid down, you got to exclude. Anyway, that's another topic. So I
Yeah.
want AI to fix those mundane things so that I can pull the report, understand what the AM changes have been, and then pull that overall analysis, that intelligent analysis that's going to lead into a different strategy, an upsell, a downsell, a different placement, and
Yeah.
things like that. I heard on the podcast
Well,
somebody
that's what
said,
we're doing.
yeah,
Sorry, that's what we're doing. Like
that's
we're using these systems, this artificial intelligence,
oh,
to
of
get
course,
us the raw idea, and then we
yeah,
use humans. So it's AI intelligence with a human touch.
yeah,
We're going through and making sure that you know that the AI has done a great job,
yeah.
but then we're taking it the other 20% to making sure like this is good for you. This
And I
is we're happy to
love
send this out.
the love the the 20% reference here because I think that some DSPs already have some type of AI optimization, but I like to say it only does about 10 to 30% of the job. The other 60% comes down to the trader. Unless you're working
Yeah.
with a Chalice algorithm or like a Sybit, then I think that it bumps it up to 90% only, and the trader only has about 10%. But then the other time that is saved by this algorithm can be again led towards something else, a strategy and things like that. So I do appreciate that. And all right, so John, if we had to maybe end the podcast right now, what is like two things you want every listener to remember about this conversation and to implement about what you just taught them? Like, y'all better do those two things and remember to do this.
Firstly, if I was speaking to agencies and I'm taking a Seika out of this,
Uh-huh.
I would say, and actually I'm going to do a LinkedIn video on this, shout out to me on LinkedIn, is you need to have more conversations with sales teams. You
I love
think
it.
you're having a lot, but you can learn if you ask them the right questions. They're speaking to everyone in market and they will teach
Mm.
you about stuff and they will connect you up. They'll get your job done so fast that it just makes life easy.
I like that. Okay.
The second point is that Seika Media makes life easier. All you've got to do is reach out
I like that.
and implement us, and we'll make sure that we're getting everything ready and prepared for you so that we're taking the kind of heavy lifting out of that work, but it's always your investment and always your client. So
Mhm.
you never have to worry that it's a kind of black box of activity.
All right, outstanding. Isn't there a guide that you mentioned earlier that they can like the listeners can download for you? I mean, and get some information?
Absolutely, absolutely. If you follow the link that you're going to put in the show notes,
Mhm.
we can give them a guide on kind of best practice for curation. Because as I was saying before, we want to help you, and sometimes that
Expand.
help means not always trying to take it on us. We want people to
Outstanding.
have the best time that they can at work and save them lots of time. So yeah, if they click the link, they can download the pack
The guide.
to save themselves even more time, I guess.
Okay. Outstanding. So I'll make sure to add John Paul's information in the show notes. If I'm fancy enough, I can even add a QR code somewhere in the, the window. If not,
Nice,
you can check
nice.
out the show
Don't
notes
forget the link to
and the
LinkedIn.
link
Link
and
to
the
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
Personal
all the
contact.
information. John Paul, what are okay, so we're closing the interview right now, but leave us with a word of wisdom in like 30 seconds or less. What is something you maybe learned in your career that you wish you knew when you first started? Like think of it as an advice you wish somebody given you when you first started your career. What would that be? What would you share?
Yeah. Um, I fortunately, the people that raised me in media were amazing.
Oh.
Um, but one thing that I would always say is like to anyone starting out, the
Mhm.
best thing you can do is listen and be polite and try and kind of offer to make the coffee, offer to go and do these things, because what it does is it gets you brought into the room because people like you and trust you and they spend time with you.
Mm.
And most of the people that I've worked with over my career, I still very much call friends and love seeing them. And for me, I'm a hierarchy kind of guy. Like I always respect people that are kind of up levels, etc.
Mhm.
And I still kind of think of that myself. I still consider myself like an exec going in and wanting to learn as much as I can from people. So yeah,
That's
regardless of what discipline you're in media, be nice. It's nice to be important. It's more important to be nice. It's something that my brother David taught me when we were growing up, my business partner.
love it.
And yeah, be nice to people.
That's so dope. Thank you so much for dropping by, John. All of his information will be in the show notes, including the guide, including anything we talked about during this episode. It will definitely be in the show notes or in the YouTube description. Thank you so much for dropping out, John. I appreciate you. You're a dear
No,
friend. This was a gem.
thank you for having me. And also, may I say to everyone listening to this that Ellen is amazing. You need to book her services as soon as you can because
Yes.
she will change the way that you work. This is not an ad. This isn't played up. I sincerely believe that. So do get in touch, and if you're in the UK, talk to me and I'll talk to her. Got to make my commission, don't
But
I?
although you're in the UK, I just want to clarify that you do service globally, including the US too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
because we are
Running very
separated
well
by
in
a
the US. Yeah.
pond or an
Hmm.
ocean, like we still have,
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have many partnerships where it's across the ocean and it's in the
Yeah.
US. So I just want to
Yeah.
clarify that to the listeners. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you
I'll be
again,
over in the
Jean-Paul.
US soon. Actually, I'll be hitting up New York and Austin.
Oh, good.
Which next
Okay.
week.
Okay.